Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Monday, January 6th, 2020.
Good morning, President James.
This is 2020.
Yes, welcome to 2020.
Like Barbara Walters up here.
Commissioners Garcia, James, Davis, and Caloza are present. President James, you have a quorum. May we please start with your introductions, beginning with street lighting.
Good morning and Happy New Year. All best wishes on this Monday fun day. I'm Asad Al-Najjar for the Bureau of Street Lighting. Thank you.
Good morning, Abram Tejeda with Streets LA.
Sherry Kuroki, LA Sanitation.
Crystal Lee, Bureau of Engineering.
Brett McReynolds, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
And TJ Knight, Assistant Executive Officer. We do have speaker cards under public commentary and items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
We've got the varsity today with our crew that's here. A good way to start off the decade. Mr. Sachs, we will start with you, sir, your general public comment card.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you.
Morning.
Hope you all had a good holiday. It is 2020, and it's weird. It's the 20th year of the 2020s, but it's the 19th year of the 21st century. That's where the problem comes in. People say it's the end of this decade, it's the beginning of the decade. 20 years, it's 2 decades, but it's only 19 years for the 21st century. So a few things to clear up from the last meetings. The City Council decided to ban single-use bottled water, plastic bottles, but if they're recyclable, they're not single-use. Figure that one out. They also had you discuss something about cleaning the sidewalks from people or something, using the sidewalks for restrooms. First of all, Hollywood uses mobile toilets for a lot of their shoots in downtown LA. You ought to check it out. But secondly, when the city comes through and sprays the sidewalks to clean them off, all that stuff ends up running into the sewers. And if it runs into the sewers, then it's water pollution because it ends up going out to the ocean. Figure that out. If you're not doing anything, you ought to come down here and express your opinion. If you have problems in your neighborhood with vendors, first step, go to your neighborhood councils. And if you don't find the right answers there, go to some other neighborhood councils in the area and see what they're doing about their situation. See what committees they have formed and start with them. It's a process. They like the process. Everybody likes a process. Speaking of the process, there was an interesting commercial on, LeBron James did an interesting commercial about
2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs.
Thank you.
Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Friday, December 13th, 2019 by Commissioner Garcia? Any objection? Without objection, we will approve those meeting minutes. That was the only card we have for general public comment, so I will close general public comment. Agenda item number 1 in Council District 11, change order number 40 and number 51. Vadnais Trenchless Services Incorporated. This is for the Venice Dual Force Main and Venice Pumping Plant Generator Replacement Project. Recommending that the board authorize the city engineer to issue change order number 40 to deduct a not to exceed amount of $151,028 as credit for uninstalled break-in out zones. And secondly, authorize the city engineer to issue change order number 51 for a not to exceed amount of $330,000 for the cost increase of pipe material for a net cost of around $149,000 or so. Mr. Sachs on number 1.
Yes, thank you again. This is kind of weird. So when they do these projects, and they authorize a contract out for, I don't know, $5 million. It's a line-by-line contract, and if something is exceeding in one line and deducted in another line, how do they work that out? This is just so weird that on one part of this contract, it's pretty much the same contract. It's not two different contracts, it's different work orders, but it's the same contract for the same company. Why they would have on one line, you have to deduct the money, and on the other line, you have to credit the money. And at the end of the day, nobody knows what's been deducted and nobody knows what's been credited. And what really happens is everything ends up costing more. At the end of the project, when everything is inspected, shouldn't that be the time to do the books correctly? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. On number 1, Mr. Tolles.
Good morning. My name is Ryan Tolles with the Bureau of Engineering Wastewater Conveyance Construction Division. I'm here today to request authority to issue change orders 40 and 51 for the Venezuela Force Main project. The project was originally awarded January 18th of 2017 to Vadnais Trenchless Services Incorporated. The scope of work for this project includes the installation of a 54-inch diameter force main that extends approximately 10,500 feet from Venice Pumping Plant to about 240 feet south of Waterview on Vista Del Mar. And the first one, which is change order 40, is a credit in the amount of $151,028 and is related to break-in and break-out zones. Break-in and break-out zones, they're adjacent to a tunnel shaft, and they're intended to stabilize the ground and minimize water infiltration when the microtunnel boring machine enters or exits the shaft. The contractor proposed the deletion of these zones in order to save the project time, cost, and to minimize community impact. And in order to mitigate the deletion of this, they proposed a newer shaft seal to be used. And so the city approved the change with the condition that the contractor demonstrate that it will work, a qualifying stage. And after they performed the qualifying stage, we determined that the break-in, break-out zones should not be deleted from the contract because the shaft seals did not perform as originally described by the contractor. So the credit of $151,000 reflects the shared savings for not installing the break-in, break-out zones in this qualifying stage. For the rest of the areas, we will be installing the break-in, break-out zones. Change order 50 is related to changing pipe material specifications on the south side of the force main. The two primary changes were the pressure rating requirements and the lining requirements. So after the south end realignment change order was negotiated, the city determined that the pressure rating of the pipe should be upgraded from 75 pounds per square inch to 100 pounds per square inch. And also for the 500-foot section of pipe where the flow transitions from a pressure system to a gravity system, we are asking for vinyl ester lining material as opposed to a polyester lining material. And the reason for that is all the sulfuric gases that get generated in the gravity system. This vinyl ester product has more corrosion resistance. So these changes to the pipe material, it was in the approval process and it happened after the negotiations, and so now we're here to pay for that price difference of the 75 to 100 psi and also from the polyester to vinyl ester lining material. The project has sufficient contingency to cover these changes, and I'm here just requesting authority to execute these change orders. And also any questions you may have, I'm here to answer.
Any questions at all? Commissioner Davis.
In terms of the transformation from the pressure to the gravity system, obviously the gravity system is a much more efficient, up-to-date system for us in this procedure. Is that correct?
Well, the force main, it's a pressurized system, so it's pushing all of the sewage under the channel, under the creek, and once it comes out of that area, on the south side, it transitions into a gravity flow system, which then gets sent into the Hyperion treatment plant. So in that transition area, there's a 500-foot section that is considered gravity flow, where we're going to have these gases generated. In the pressure system, there are no gases because it's full of liquid. So that's why only for that 500-foot section of pipe, we're asking for them to use this vinyl ester lining material as opposed to the polyester lining material that's being used for the rest of the force main that's under pressure.
And in terms of us implementing the gravity system, is an additional cost?
The gravity system, no. The only additional cost is related to strengthening the pipe itself from 75 PSI to 100 PSI and changing the lining material. That's the cost. That's what we're paying for. But in terms of going from a pressure system to a gravity system, that's already part of the existing design.
Thank you, Mr. Tolles. Anything further, Commissioner Davis? Obviously, a big, important project for that part of our city. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 1, seconded by Commissioners Davis and Caloza. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 1. Thank you, Mr. Tolles, very helpful. Any issue sending number 1 forthwith? We'll send number 1 forthwith. Agenda item number 2, Council Districts 1, 8, 10, 11, 13, 14, and 15. Construction order, Sidewalk Repair Program Package number 47 project. Recommending that the board first authorize the city engineer to issue a construction order and a notice to proceed for the project to Mike Perlich and Sons Incorporated from the Emergency Pre-Qualified On-Call Geotechnical Structural Construction Services list in the amount of $3,281,484 with a not to exceed amount of $3,937,781, including contingency. I wonder if we're missing something in that explanation. We'll start with Mr. Sachs on number 2.
Yes, thank you again. Another one of my favorite projects here. First of all, why is this an emergency pre-qualified on-call geotechnical? Why is this required as an emergency program? It's sidewalk repairs. And again, with the neighborhood councils. Why aren't the neighborhood councils involved in this? And why isn't the money coming out of the council district offices? They got plenty of money. They got plenty of money in the council district offices. They get funds from everything. They should be able to pay for some of the services that go into the city instead of taking the money and pocketing it. Come on down and state your opinion. And this contingency fee is almost 30%. That's a lot. Is that a new normal for 2020? Got to use your eyesight. Really, and again, the sidewalk repair program. What exactly does the sidewalk repair program involve? That it's got 7 districts. What about the other 11 districts? Do they get emergency services? You know what's really fascinating in South Central? Almost all the sidewalks are pristine. Why is that? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Vega. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning and Happy New Year. Robert Vega, Program Manager for the Bureau of Engineering Sidewalk Repair Program. I'm here today requesting authority to award Sidewalk Repair Project number 47 to Mike Perlich and Sons Incorporated, the lowest responsible bidder. This work is part of the Access Request Acceleration effort that is funded by the SB1 Roadside Maintenance and Rehabilitation Program Fund. The scope of work for this project includes repairing sidewalk, constructing curb ramps, and ancillary work from corner to corner at 15 access request sites in residential neighborhoods of CDs 1, 4, 8, 13, 14, and 15. The repairs constitute 60,000 square feet of sidewalk repair and installation of 17 curb ramps. On November 7, 2019, SRP solicited bids from all 9 contractors on the emergency pre-qualified on-call geotechnical structural list. And on November 26, 2019, 2 bids were received. Mike Perlich and Sons Incorporated was deemed the lowest responsible bidder, and the award amount for that is $3,281, $3,281,484, with a not to exceed of $3,937,781, which is the 20% contingency. Funding is available in the SB1 Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Program Special Fund for sidewalk repair. And this concludes my report. I'm ready to answer any
Hi, yes. Robert, just a couple of things on the record. You indicated that there is, at least in the council districts that you mentioned, you included Council District 4, but you did not include 10 or 11 that's listed in the board report. If you look at page 2 of the board report, there are sites in Council Districts 10 and 11. Site 3 is on Sycamore in CD10, and Site 11 is on Bundy in Council District 11. Is that scope of work accurate?
It is accurate.
Okay, so we are going to have projects in Council Districts 10 and 11.
Correct.
I don't see one for CD4 in the list. Is there going to be a project in Council District 4 that's not on the list that's the scope of work?
No, it should be only the projects that are on the list, so.
Okay, got it. So we'll square that away for the record. And then to Mr. Sachs's question on contingency, are we looking at a contingency on this one of around, it looks like about 20%? If it's 600,000 on 3 million, that's about 20%, is that correct?
Yes.
Is that the range of contingency that we've been doing for these projects?
We have, yes.
Okay. Any other questions? And I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2. Seconded by Commissioners Davis and Coloza. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any issue sending 2 forthwith? We'll send number 2 forthwith. Agenda item number 3, sanitation. Task order solicitation SN 94. Pre-qualified on-call consultant list, Hazen and Sawyer. Recommending that the board first authorize the director and general manager of sanitation or his designee to award TOS SN 94 to Hazen and Sawyer from the on-call consultant list to provide design services for the Hollenbeck Park Lake Rehabilitation and Stormwater Management Project. And secondly, approve a total budget of $1 million to fund services for the project for the term of engagement of 1 year with a 2-year renewal option, starting from the date sanitation issues the notice to proceed. And Mr. Sachs on number 3. Do we have a representative from sanitation on number 3 today? Sharon? Okay. Mr. Kors. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Arnold Sachs again. So this is another one, and I have no problems with the bureaus. They follow the instructions that they're given, but so you have an on-call consultant list to provide design services, period. Why not use the on-call consultant list to design, to look over the projects that, I don't know, the Bureau of Engineering wants to do? Do they have a consultant for the Bureau of Engineering? Do you have a consultant for the other bureaus? Do you have a consultant for the joint reports? If you have the consultants, then why not take advantage of using the consultants so that you get a better idea of what the project is? Now, I can appreciate the fact that they're doing a 2-mile, what is it, a wastewater pipe from Venice in Maine in the first project, but they said there was something in the pipeline for changing, but they didn't get around to it during the negotiations. That's what you have a consultant for. You talk to the consultant, you say, this is what we want to do. What can you tell us about this project? Then you take the project, you take the ideas that the consultant has, and you go back to your board and you say, okay, this is what our consultant that we're paying tells us to do. Do you have a consultant to consult your engineers? Do you have your engineers to consult the consultant? Make your mind up. Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Council President, help us out, would you?
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Kors. Good morning.
Good morning and Happy New Year, everybody. I'm here to request approval of $1 million to fund these consulting services for Hazen and Sawyer and their team for the Hollenbeck Lake project. This is $1 million to fund pre-design services and environmental documentation preparation. This is part of a bigger effort of improving the lake by improving its water quality. We anticipate this bigger project to cost more than $20 million, and we're anticipating funding from Proposition O and also from the state of California Department of Transportation, Caltrans, um, to the tune of 15 million by them. So this is a work that is required to secure the funding by Caltrans, and any additional funding we anticipate through Measure W for implementing the project. For this consulting services, we're utilizing the Ancon Consulting Services contracts, and we received 4 proposals, and the team led by Hazen and Sawyer was the team that we've selected. They provided a balanced proposal, and we're anticipating to utilize subcontractors and meets the goals. We anticipate 16.7 MB participation, 9.5 WB participation, 25.9 SB participation, 23% EB, and about 50% OB. This work is we anticipate it to last for 1 year.
So, thank you, Mr. Kaporis. I guess one of the things I want the record to be clear about, and maybe I need to be clear on my own, and I can't help but use a legal term, it's just the way some of my brain's been wired over the last 30 years. But so, if I understand correctly, the $1 million that we're going to spend for the design services that you're requesting is, in essence, necessary to be able to successfully obtain the full funding from Caltrans up to $15 million.
Correct.
So it's basically kind of a condition, thus the legal term, of getting the $15 million. And this is something that we need to do to demonstrate the viability of the projects in order for Caltrans to come in with the rest of the investment?
Correct, and also to have enough information when we submit the request from funding from Caltrans. They want to see a more developed proposal for it. So,
okay.
so we've already have discussions, and they're willing to fund it, and they want the more details and some advancing the environmental documentation that is required for the project.
Okay. Next question on that. Is your team confident that the $1 million is all that will be needed at this stage for these services?
The $1 million is for the environment. It would take us enough to secure the Caltrans funding, but not enough to complete the design of the project.
Okay. So it's the funding that you're after, obviously, first.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Garcia, then Commissioner Caloza.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. I just have 2 quick questions. Did your selection process include like a scoring type of criteria? I see almost an RFP on the transmittals.
There were 4. Yeah, we score. We received 4 proposals.
Okay.
We evaluated the proposals. We also had interviews by the 4 respective teams, and we selected the team by Sawyer and Hazen and Sawyer.
They were the selection that scored the highest from
Yes,
the criteria.
yes.
Got it. And then second question, I saw on page 2 of the RFP that it's a $22 million project. Is that
Yes.
right? And then I know Commissioner James just said 15 million. Can you tell me what the difference there is?
Yeah. 15 million. We are looking for multiple funding sources. We're looking at the $22 million project overall. Proposition O oversight committees, namely the COAG and AOC, have selected this project and have placed it on a queue to receive $5 million. Our conversation with Caltrans is they're willing to fund it $15 million. We've already have $1 million here for the design through funding, and we're looking at the balance of the remaining, either through Measure W, because this is a stormwater project and manages stormwater runoff, or other funding sources.
Okay, so Caltrans will give us 15 million, right? 16, the 1 million is from us, putting for
Yeah.
design, and then the rest, we'll be able to tackle it through Measure W, right?
Right, if
Hopefully.
we need to, as we advance the design, we will have more information and more details about the funding and need, but we're very close to have the complete funding.
And this is what I read from it, it's a project for the community, right? So the community
Correct.
will.
The project not only improve the water quality of the lake, but by doing so, it creates a peripheral wetlands around it, and it will have a secure walkway around the lake. Currently, there's a lot of erosion problems, and aesthetically, the lake doesn't look good because of poor clarity and algae growth. So this will enhance the lake and the peripherally the lake.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Caloza.
Thank you, President James. Thanks for the briefing this morning to you and Wing. I just had a few follow-up questions as I read the report more thoroughly. So this $1 million that the city is putting forth for this pre-design, and that's a requirement, as you mentioned, for this application?
We not an explicit requirement. They want to see a certain documentation and a certain detail of the proposed project, Caltrans does, and also they want us to advance the environmental documentation, namely the SICA and NEPA environmental documents.
So it's not a requirement? It's not a requirement?
It's not an explicit requirement.
Okay.
No. But it would help. We do need this work to
So what's the likelihood of us getting the $15 million if we invested this $1 million up front?
99.6%.
Where did you get that from?
On top of
Okay.
No, we have a high degree of certainty. We've already discussed it, and explicitly they said that if you've done this work, we will authorize the fund.
Have we won a similar Caltrans grant like this in the past?
I don't think so. This is probably the first time, but this helps them comply with their stormwater compliance. So they're probably it's a first, but we anticipate maybe they'll fund future ones as well.
Can you, and I found this helpful in the briefing, explain why we're eligible to apply for the Caltrans money?
Caltrans, just like us, is regulated by the state with respect to stormwater. They have their own stormwater permit, and provided, and they fund different projects if there is a nexus or proximity to their facilities. In our case, we'll have the 5 freeway adjacent to the lake, and part of the runoff is from the freeway. So they have a formula based on how much of the runoff you're treating, or how much acreage of runoff you're treating. They fund accordingly.
And when will we find out from Caltrans if we receive this money?
I anticipate after we've done the study to interact with them. Mm-hmm. So I believe 2021 or 2022 we should know.
Okay, so about
soon
a little over
a
year or two after we've
yes.
completed the report.
Less than that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anything further? I'm sorry. What was the timing again? You just mentioned it. Okay.
Yeah, I believe, and I don't know if Wayne can correct me, But after we've done this study, we will work with Caltrans to secure the funding. I believe within a year after we've done the work, we should secure the funding.
Okay, Mr. Tam.
Hello there.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everyone. It's a good time, first meeting. But anyway, yes, Wing Tam from Sanitation. I actually been working with Caltrans for the last couple of years already on this item. And they indicate to us once we finish this work, the NEPA work and the pre-design work, we submit it to them and they will look at it. And once they approve it, they will give us agreement to fund this $15 million. So I anticipate once we finish work, once this work is done in the year, at the end of this year, we'll provide them for some time for them to review and approve and all that. So the agreement could potentially be early next year.
When you said NEPA, you mean National Environmental Policy Act?
That is correct. Because Caltrans funding, some of it is federal funding, so we have to finish a federal document also.
Got it. Okay, thank you for all the questions, clarifying questions. Anything further? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 3, seconded by Commissioners Garcia and Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Thank you both. Any issue sending number 3 forthwith? We'll send number 3 forthwith, and good luck on that going forward, gentlemen. Agenda item number 4, engineering and sanitation for Council Districts 1 and 13. Revise the budget and change order numbers 9 and 10 to Spinello Companies. This is for the North Outfall Sewer Rehabilitation Unit 13, Forney Street to Duval Street project. Recommending that the board authorize $1,650,000 in additional contingency and approve a revised construction budget of $12,472,013 for the North Outfall Sewer Rehabilitation Unit 13, Forney Street to Duval Street project. Secondly, authorize the city engineer to issue change order number 9 for a not to exceed amount of $165,000 for the project to construct Barkley Access Pit excavation and restoration. And third, authorize the city engineer to issue change order number 10 for a not to exceed amount of $620,000 for the project to use 3 Vestec G3 shoring system and 1 vacuum truck. And Mr. Tolles, while Mr. Sachs is speaking, we've got a couple of different spellings of Duval Street, one with 1 L and one with 2 L's. Just, we might ought to have that clear for the record when you come up. Mr. Sachs on number 4.
Thank you again, Arnold Sachs. And every time I see a joint report, it makes me think of Matt Groening from, he used to do a column and cartoon in the LA Weekly called, and it was Dirty Dog. And I used to have a strip on my desk when I worked at Crown Plaza. Dirty Dog takes a drug test, X, Y, and Z. Joint reports. Anyway, on these items that you're approving and everything, I appreciate the fact that there's a bid put out and there's a lot of work put into it. There is no completion date for any of these items that are talked about, actually. I listened kind of closely to the last one, and again, I don't blame the people that are coming here, and I appreciate the work they put in, but there was no date of completion for the lake rehabilitation project. So I'm wondering how long these projects actually last. There was no time limit on when, yes, we know the money will come from this point, we know the money will come from that point, but 4 years down the highway, that $100 will be worth $20. And so you'll need $500 to make up the original cost, because it was $100 today, it goes to $500 in 4 years. You always have that gap between getting a project started and getting it finished. Which goes back to the consultants and the list and the emergency list and all these lists that the city manages to put together, and yet nothing really ever gets finished, but the costs always go up. We need a little bit better council work and a little bit better leadership from the mayor's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Tolles? Welcome back. First meeting, you've already been here twice.
Good morning, everybody. Ryan Tolles, Bureau of Engineering, Wastewater Conveyance Construction Division. I'm here today to request an additional contingency for the project for the NOS Unit 13 project in the amount of $1.65 million, as well as authority to execute change orders 9 and 10 for the project. The project was originally awarded to Spinello Companies January 25th of 2019 in the amount of $10,822,013. That includes the project contingency. Soon after the project was awarded, CCTVs done by LA Sanitation and the contractor identified 5 voids along the NOS. This is the same NOS that's collapsing throughout the city. LA San and BOE determined that the most cost-effective method to address this emergency situation was to add the scope of work to the existing capital project rather than initiate a separate emergency contract, which we would normally do to address a situation like this, because of the access and coordination issues that would be developed if we had 2 contractors working in the same area on top of each other. So the largest void, which you can see in figure 3 of your report, required an immediate repair. The void extended almost from curb to curb, so you could see it was a very large void, and we're lucky that we got there in time. The way we repaired it was by installing a concrete encasement, which we refer to as a burrito wrap. The repair also required a bypass and relocation of existing DWP water lines and almost exhausted the original project contingency. The remaining 4 voids were protected with steel plates, and we determined that the most cost-effective method to deal with these voids would be to clean and slip line past them and then do internal and external grouting rather than excavate it and do burrito wraps at all of these 4 locations. So in order for this method to work, we need to install an additional access pit at Barclay Street, and this additional access pit will be compensated under change order 9. Change order 10 is to change the specified shoring system from beam and plate to a G3 shoring system, which is a much more compact system, which requires a smaller footprint and therefore eliminates the need to relocate DWP utilities. The shoring is rented on a monthly basis, and so this change order assumes a 16-month duration, which we're being conservative there, and that estimates to roughly the $620,000 that you see in change order 10. The overall cost for the utility relocation and the schedule savings justify the change to this shoring system. There are also several other forecasted items, such as the steel plate rentals, bypass trench restoration, de-energizing overhead power lines, and reconstructing sidewalks and ramps to ADA compliance, and all of that is included in that 1.65 that we're requesting. The additional funding was approved by PRC on August 14th of 2019, and to address also to address your question, Duval has 2 L's, and to address the prior comment, the way we normally administer our projects, anytime a change in the contract occurs, we issue a change order. So that change order documents the changes as the project occurs. We don't wait till the end of the project and then figure out what happened and kind of do a cleanup. We do it as we go. So I'm here to answer any questions you guys may have on this change order.
Any questions at all? Mr. Tolles, again, thank you for the explanation. I don't have any further questions. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 4, seconded by Commissioners Davis and Coloza. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 4. Thank you, sir. Any issue sending number 4 forthwith? We'll send number 4 forthwith. Agenda item number 5, Contract Administration and the Department of Transportation. Contract acceptance for the Wilshire East Adaptive Traffic Control System, Council Districts 1, 4, 10, and 13, recommending that the board accept the contract. Mr. Sachs, you have a card in on number 5.
Yes, thank you again, Arnold Sachs. Traffic control system with the city's Safe Streets or Complete Streets program. Is that involved in part of this? Is LADOT involved in any of this? I know that LADOT has upgraded its dash buses. Now they can hear you on their dash buses, which probably also means they can hear you on their commuter expresses. Really weird that they would put microphones in that can listen to you speak if you're having a conversation with somebody. Just make sure you remember that if you're riding the dash or an employee of the city. Anyway, back to LADOT. Why aren't they involved in this? Why isn't Neighborhood Council involved in this? the picking and choosing of particular areas in all these different districts leaves a lot to be desired. There should be actually a contingency fee in the council district offices for traffic control, because different districts have different pedestrian needs and different traffic needs, and they should be taken into effect. It's not a citywide type thing where you have the same kind of traffic and the same kind of pedestrian usage all throughout the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Wayne on number 5 is what the card says. Mr. Spindler, number 5.
I asked to reopen general public comment. You're going to definitely want to see what I have in my hand here. Mail fraud, conspiracy, illegal billing. All the things you accuse Price Coopers is you guys have been doing it. And I have the proof here, and that's why I haven't been here. I've been doing this for the past 3 weeks, day and night. Now, who gives a fuck about this contract that Wilshire East Adept? This is just fucking wasting money. It's fraud. Traffic control, what you're doing with traffic is that you're slowing it down. And you're using the plan under your little Vision Zero. That was Dennis Zine and his little payoff. He got a bunch of money on the side to promote Vision Zero. He's a former traffic cop. So they, you're slowing down traffic here today in front of the 300 North Los Angeles Street because you have that bike lane there and all those cones. A man was stabbed today trying to go into the federal building just about 30 minutes ago. And public safety could not get into the building because your fucking cones for your bike lanes are fucking blocking access to the federal building on the sidewalk. And I've been telling you this. So it took them another 15 minutes to get to this guy. He's standing there bleeding out of his shoulder and runs into the federal building. They got 6, 8 fucking cops there. And you guys are sitting here going, we need more bike lanes. We need more bike lanes. And I've been fucking telling you to open those lanes up of traffic and get that stuff the fuck out of there. But you don't listen. You don't listen. Just like the city attorney doesn't listen. You need to listen. This stuff is a major fucking catastrophe. If this guy dies because that 15 minutes to that ambulance to his shoulder could not be there, you guys, because of your
Mr.
bike
Spindler,
lanes, are going to be for
Mr.
millions of
McReynolds.
dollars.
Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, President James and Commissioners. Brett McReynolds, Bureau of Contract Administration. This is a closure for Wilshire East Adaptive Traffic Control System, ADSAC. The contract was awarded on December 10th, 2014 in the amount of $2,562,913 to Dyna Electric, KDC, Incorporated, and the project upgraded the existing ADSAC system at the council districts 1, 4, 10, and 13. On December 10th or December 14th, 2016, your board approved an increase in the contingency for a total authorized budget of $2,842,913. 61 change orders were issued on this project, bringing the total cost of the project to $2,901,806.34, which is 2.07% above the authorized budget and 13.22% above the original award amount. Changes included numerous small improvements, each of which were needed to improve the ADSAC system, and each independently were performed more efficiently using this contractor than going out to bid with other contractors. Funding for this project was through the DOT ADSAC funding source, and work was completed July 25th, 2016, and retention released thereafter. Contractors comply with all EEO and labor compliance requirements, and there are no unresolved property complaints or disputed funds, so we're requesting acceptance.
Thank you, Mr. McReynolds. Any questions at all regarding agenda item number 5? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 5, seconded by Commissioner Garcia. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 5. Any issue, sending it forthwith. Number 5 will go forthwith. Thank you, Mr. McReynolds. Agenda item number 6, Council Districts 1, 4, 6, 7, and 15. Authority for expenditure for the State Water Resources Control Board. Sanitation and the Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $95,000 for annual waste discharge requirements and stormwater permit fees for landfill facilities operated by sanitation, and the funding account from which the funds would come is listed in the agenda. Mr. Spindler, you're putting in a card in for number 6. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, the Bureau of Sanitation. That's what I'm here about today. Now, every single DWP bill gets a bill from them billing. You are the principal, and they are the billing agent on all of our DWP bills. So DWP is hired by you, Kevin James, to assess and collect sanitation fees for solid waste and something called sewer service charges. Now, what does DWP do? They misread intentionally your water bill during the winter rainy months from November to March. And then what happens is that they take the calculation and falsely state it higher than the actual usage. Then your department takes that number and creates a sewer service charge annual that's adjusted each July 1st. And then you mail out the bill, and it is a false bill. Every one of those bills that is mailed is a fraud. But the best part is it only says DWP. So you use an independent utility where your fingerprints aren't on it, but you get the money for the fraud. And that's where you get all this money for the Bureau of Sanitation. You rob the fuck out of everybody and overcharge them for all these fees, millions of customers, and there's not one thing on that bill that can place the 5 of you commissioners directly in front of a grand jury, except one thing, is that you made one little mistake.
2 minutes.
And you said that the sewer service charges are billed by the DWP for the city of Los Angeles. You made one mistake, council.
Mr.
One
Sachs.
fucking mistake.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, Arnold Sachs. And a lot of times the Board of Supervisors will send 5 signature letters to the state for such and such reason. Does the city have the opportunity to send a signature letter to the state? Because I would ask for an amendment. It'd be the State Water Resources Out of Control Board. We're talking about a closure here for a landfill, landfill maintenance trust fund. Do they have a plan to open landfills? Because if one door closes, another one needs to open. You still need landfills. Are they planning another landfill somewhere in the state, somewhere in the county, somewhere in the city? Maybe a suggestion here. Maybe they could talk with Utah or Arizona, where they get coal from, and maybe use those open coal pits for landfills. And, okay, so you have to truck the items a greater distance. But A and B, you have an area that's been strip mined, which is a disaster in speaking, and B, you have a resource that needs to be tossed somewhere and should actually stay in the country and not be sent to another foreign country, because they don't deserve the crap that California generates. And boy, when California is generating crap, whew, it's like nuclear crap. But things to be considered. You want to be green in America. Keep your stuff here, use your resources a little bit better, and you might make better neighborhoods and neighbors throughout the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Ms. Kroki, on number 6, we are, it's pretty self-explanatory on the authority for expenditure. We are needing to pay our regulatory landfill permits, correct? Is there anything else sanitation would add to that?
No, this is just for the standard annual permit fees for the landfills that we operate.
Any questions at all for sanitation? Then I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 6. Is there a second on number 6 by Commissioner Davis? Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 6. Any issues sending number 6 forthwith? We'll send number 6 forthwith. Mr. Knight, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, we have.
Okay, then we are adjourned, everyone. Welcome to 2020.